are you going to be feeding those bees, which is a cost, right? Because a beehive it eats roughly 3 pounds of food in every 2 to 3 days. So if you're feeding those bees like you are cattle, if there's nothing for the cattle to graze on, you're shipping in mass amounts of hay. Or you're going to be feeding the bees. I have 5 months of Darth in my area. I mean, we have area where I am in Wyoming right now. Starting right now was the last day of me being able to do bees. Right now, I'm winterizing them. I'm packing them in. I'm doing the film footage of making fondant cake to feed them over the winter. And they either have to eat the residual food that I've left them in the hive, or they're going to have to eat this fondant cake over the winter. So they'll make it, and they're not going to see light until March. Right? They're not even 5 months where I'm going to have to make sure these bees either eating all the food in their hive, or I'm having to feed them, or they're going to starve to die.
Mm-hmm. But what if I'm a guy that just wants one hive on my roof, regardless of whether it's in the city or rural? But let's assume let's talk about where I am or where I used to live. I used to live in Queens, New York, or now I live in Miami Beach. Both of them are pretty much urban situations where I have a roof and I can have one hive. How do I start? What's the first step that I need to take, assuming I got the $40 to buy a hive?
All right, so here's the beekeeping program, right? This is what you're going to do. Is the first thing you do is you need to know your laws of your area. Mm-hmm. The second thing you need to know is, can you take a bee sting, what your allergic reaction is? The third thing you need to do is find out terminology. When I talk about Darth, swarming, ABSC, you need to know what those terms are. And the fourth thing is you need to learn history. Once you learn about history of how the bees work in your area, history comes from other beekeepers that tell you these are areas of Darth, these are areas where we have high production of honey, this is when you need to winterize, that's your history. The next thing you need to do is you need to find out, what kind of beekeeping system am I going to use? Am I going top bar? Am I using line strip? Am I using the roadwood method? You have to find out what system you're using, and you need to buy that equipment. So that's your budget. Once you find your budget from the system you're using, you need to build a proper hive stand that'll hold and secure that beehive, so if wind comes or something brushes it off or you have a problem, it's secure, because no one wants to have a frantic mess of the bees flying everywhere.
Sure.
I've been to some truck turnovers, and it's horrific. So you want to make sure you have a good, proper hive stand to hold down the hive and system that you're using. Then you need to find out what kind of bees are the best bees for your location. If they're buckfast bees, Russian bees, Minnesota hygienic bees, Italians, or Carlonians. I mean, there's so many different varieties of bees. Do you want an aggressive bee? Do you want a little docile bee? Right? Then you find out that cost and order those bees. Then you have to do an insertion and feeding method to get them propagating and started. And then it's hive management, about going in every 9 to 11 days, checking to make sure the queen's laying, making sure that the honey production started, making sure the brood's rearing, making sure they're bringing in pollen, making sure there's no pests. You do that over the summer months. Then you get towards the end of the fall, you harvest your honey. Then you're going to harvest the honey and make sure that there's residual honey in there and have a product for yourself. If you're a good beekeeper, you should get 30 pounds for a beehive. And that's about the average. If you're getting 120 pounds from that beehive at the end of the year, you have really good nectar flow. And then you have to learn how to winterize that beehive. In Florida, you probably won't have to winterize it, but you'll have to check about the part of around
Winterize just like any other place.
bees, which costs you money because
how to get started. And I think there's a lot of people out there that want to start backyard beekeeping but don't really know where. Oh, so there's a lot to know and a lot to learn. So I think that would be a really good thing if you think that might be something you'd be willing to do.
oh, I do this all the time. This is my skill set. I think I had a calling for beekeeping, and but there are hundreds of great beekeepers out there, and there's hundreds of styles of beekeeping. Not one person, I think, is the master beekeeper, and there are some phenomenal beekeepers out there. Uh, Michael Brush. Has built written by guys, and there's great beekeepers. Don't get me right, that you log on and you learn from an educational place that does permaculture and food growing.
Neat.
Right, so I'm teaching you how to do beekeeping, but in my program, it specifically tells you, join a club, tour, because you need to learn the aspect of what I'm telling you to apply it in your location. Because my location's it's not in Florida. Man.
Yeah, yeah.
It's up
And
in
it's
the
certainly not
mountains
in
of Wyoming.
Ontario.
Yeah. I'm built like a polar bear for a reason.
Said not Texas
You
either.
guys are just jealous.
So, well, I think because we're
Well,
like
only making a couple hundred bottles of a mead, and the mead has exotic fruits and honey that you can't get anywhere else in the world, I think it's a winner.
Oh yeah, totally. Do like your event, please email GotMead. Great Society Cider and Mead at greatsocietycider.com, Mace Meadworks, macemeadworks.com, Brothers Drake Meadery, brothersdrakemeadery.com, Oran Moore Artisan Mead at Oran Moore Mead, and that's ORANMOR, no E, MEAD.com. These are all listed on the show page too, so you can get them there. And then the Eltham and District Winemakers Guild Wine and Mead Show in Australia at amateurwine.org.au. So go check those out. And and Victoria.
That's Victoria.
Victoria, thank you. Yeah, he's typing it and making sure I get it. So, upcoming guests. Next week we have Jason Phelps at Ancient Fire Mead, and for the week after, I'm working on seeing if I can get Kirk Jones from St. Ambrose to come on the show. I think he's going to do it, but I've just got to nail it down. And then the week after that, which will be our last show or next to the last show of the season before we shut it down for Christmas in December. Well, the December month, which we get to take off, yay! Is Bob Slants, also a beekeeper, and he's actually up in New York, so he does urban beekeeping, Manny. You'll like that. So that should be a really interesting show as well.
There it is.
Yeah, there it is. So, join us next week on